In an undetermined future, we find ourselves in a programmer's office. A young man named Caleb Smith receives an email informing him that he has won a company lottery. The cameras record his reactions and his colleagues congratulate him. By helicopter, Caleb travels to a remote and unknown location, a natural environment with no signal whatsoever. Following the river, Caleb arrives at the entrance of the facility.
Take your key card.
When he enters, he finds himself in a luxurious mansion with a modern aesthetic. The director of the company is training boxing when Caleb meets him. His name is Nathan Bateman, and he is a robotics genius.
Can we just be two guys, Nathan and Caleb, not the whole employer-employee thing?
Also, he seems to be a person with a strong character. Nathan shows Caleb the place. Everything seems to be connected to an electronic system. Nathan insists that this is not a house, but a research headquarters. But before revealing to Caleb what he is investigating, he makes him sign a confidentiality agreement.
Good call.
Nathan asks Caleb if he knows what the Turing test is.
It's when a human interacts with a computer, and if the human doesn't know they're interacting with a computer, the test is passed.
Then Nathan reveals to him that he has built an artificial intelligence, and that Caleb's task is to be the one to test it. Caleb is in the test room, which is divided by glass. Nathan is monitoring everything. Suddenly, we see Ava. She is the artificial intelligence to be tested.
Hello.
Hi.
Caleb is shocked at first, but as soon as they begin to speak, he is excited to know her more. After the first meeting, Caleb expresses how impressed he is with Nathan's invention, but asks why he let him see Ava, since in the Turing test you should not see the machine.
No, we're way past that. If I hid Ava from you so you just heard her voice, she would pass for human.
The test is no longer whether Ava is a machine. The real test is whether or not Caleb feels that she has a conscience. He has quite a few technical doubts, but Nathan only cares about talking about the intangible or mental part.
How do you feel about it?
I feel that she's f***ing amazing.
That same night, Caleb cannot sleep and begins to observe Ava through the security cameras. She is sitting drawing, but soon she gets up and looks at the camera.
Power cut. Backup power activated.
Caleb tries to get out, but the doors are locked. When the power returns, he leaves the room and enters an open door. With some fear, Caleb sees that there is a phone and tries to use it, but is surprised by Nathan, who was in the dark. He is drunk and drinking beer.
Something happened in my room, some kind of power cut.
He responds to Caleb that the doors get closed for safety and that he is working on avoiding those power cuts, so he goes back to his room. The next morning, Caleb wakes up shocked by the presence of a woman who brings him breakfast. He then meets again with Nathan, who is working out, and they discuss what the next step is. Caleb again goes on the technical side, but Nathan cuts him off and says,
Yesterday I asked you how you felt about her and you gave me a great answer. Now the question is, how does she feel about you?
Ava asks Caleb for opinions on the drawing she made. But he doesn't even know what the drawing is. And Ava replies that she never knows what the drawings that she always makes are. She then asks Caleb if he would like to be friends with her. He answers yes, but Ava tells him that for that he should also talk about himself. Then Caleb begins to answer Ava's questions. He lives alone in a small apartment. He has no siblings, he is single, and his parents were killed in a car accident when he was 15 years old. Suddenly there is a power cut again. Ava changes her attitude to a darker one. She tells Caleb that Nathan is not his friend and that he should not trust anything he says. The energy returns, and she acts as if nothing has happened. Caleb processes what's going on and pretends along with Ava. That night, Caleb and Nathan are having dinner. The female servant accidentally pushes a glass of wine and Nathan insults her quite a bit. Caleb feels bad for her, even though she doesn't seem to care. Nathan reveals that her name is Kyoko and that she doesn't speak their language. He then asks Caleb about his second experience with Ava. He has in mind what happened when the power went out, but he avoids bringing it up.
What about the power cut? It's the only part that I couldn't see. Cameras fail, I lose audio. It works.
Caleb decides to lie to Nathan, saying nothing happened. Later in his room, Caleb watches Ava on the cameras. Unexpectedly, she turns her gaze. It seems that he feels a special connection. Nathan takes Caleb into the room where he created Ava and explains a little about how he did it.
I drew the picture of something specific. His mask.
After talking about the drawing, Caleb asks her where she would go if she could get out. She replies that to the intersection of a street, to be able to see many people.
We could go together.
It's a date.
Ava wants to show Caleb something and asks him to close his eyes. Then she goes for a dress and meticulously puts it on. She goes back to Caleb for him to look at her. He is fascinated by how she looks. They joke again about going on a date, but Ava seriously asks if he is attracted to her.
I'm wondering if you're watching me on the cameras, and I hope you are.
The session ends and Caleb does just that. The next day, he asks Nathan why he gave Ava sexuality. He replies that it is part of the consciousness of a living being and that it is more fun anyway. He also tells him that it is possible to have sex with her because of the way he constructed her. Caleb seems pissed off and asks Nathan if he programmed her to flirt with him.
I programmed her to be heterosexual.
Being a bit angry, Nathan takes Caleb into another room to explain that Ava isn't pretending to like him. Caleb is the first man she has seen other than Nathan, who is like her father figure.
Can you blame her for getting a crush on you?
Caleb is direct in revealing to Ava that he came to test if she really has a conscience. Ava is saddened to know that, and a power cut occurs. Caleb asks her why she said that he shouldn't trust Nathan, and that maybe he's seeing them right now. She tells him that Nathan lies about everything, and confesses that she has been causing those cuts to find out how they behave when no one sees them. On a walk outside, Caleb accuses Nathan of having lied at the lottery. He confesses that that contest was a smokescreen, so that no one knows what he really needs Caleb for.
Why me?
I needed someone that would ask the right question.
Caleb is imagining a date with Ava, while Nathan is about to have sex with Kyoko. Later, Caleb is finishing shaving and watches on the cameras that Nathan is tearing up a drawing of Ava in front of her. Caleb then asks Kyoko where Nathan is, but she starts to take off her clothes.
No.
Nathan walks into the room and plays music for Caleb to dance with her. He asks him why he tore up Ava's drawing, but he ignores him and starts dancing with Kyoko. Being drunk, Nathan goes to sleep and Caleb watches Ava for a while behind the cameras. Ava now tests Caleb and asks him 3 personal questions. Then she asks what will happen to her if she fails the test. Caleb doesn't know the answer. Being emotionally upset, Ava shows the drawing that Nathan broke. It's a Caleb drawing. Power goes out again.
Question 5. Do you want to be with me?
Caleb and Nathan chat while drinking. Nathan comments that Ava's creation was inevitable, like the next step in evolution. He also reveals that he is eventually going to get rid of Ava to create the next improved model. This impacts Caleb deeply. So he decides to offer him more alcohol until he gets drunk again. And when he succeeds, he takes the security card from him. Caleb goes to Nathan's computer and begins programming, also watches old security camera videos, and discovers disturbing experimentation with pre-Ava models. He then goes to Nathan's room and discovers that there are other robots in the closets. Kyoko is naked and shows Caleb that she is one too. We subtly understand that Nathan has built some models for his sexual satisfaction. Nathan gets up dizzy and looks for his card with some difficulty, but Caleb shows up in the elevator.
You dropped it.
Caleb has nightmares about what he went through that day and goes to the bathroom to observe himself to see if he is also a robot with artificial intelligence. It seems that the mirror has a hidden camera. Caleb gets to the point of using his razor to make a cut in his arm and watches his blood gush out. Caleb implicitly asks Ava to cut the power. When she does, he tells her that he will help her escape with him from the place. He will again get Nathan drunk and use her card, but he needs Ava to cut off the power at 10 a.m. the next day. The next morning, Nathan is working out and goes to the kitchen.
You know what day it is?
No.
It's your last.
Caleb tries to make a toast for Nathan to drink, but he refuses because he's already had a lot of drinking the last few days. He then tells him that maybe Ava has wanted to use Caleb to escape But soon after he stops pretending and reveals that he has been surveilling Caleb without him knowing it.
You're a bastard.
Nathan takes Caleb to watch a security video from a secret camera showing his plan with Ava. Nathan tries to stop Caleb from being so furious for having manipulated him. He reminds him that the test was successful. Caleb realizes that they selected him on purpose because they knew he was single and someone quite empathetic. Nathan continues to try to calm Caleb when suddenly the power goes out. He thinks nothing is going to happen, but Caleb reveals to Nathan that when he was drunk, Caleb changed the security system so that when the power goes out, all the doors open instead of closing.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Nathan knocks Caleb out with one blow, and he arms himself with a dumbbell tube. In the hallway, we see Ava saying something in Kyoko's ear, although we don't know what. Nathan confronts Ava and orders her to go back to her room, but she doesn't obey and attacks him. They both struggle for a while until Nathan turns her over and breaks her arm using the tube. He then pulls her back into her room, but Kyoko stabs him in the back. With great difficulty, Nathan knocks Kyoko down. Ava removes the knife stuck from his back, only to stab him again. Nathan walks a bit before falling and continuing to bleed out. Ava goes to him to take his card and watches him die for a moment. Ava goes to the study room and sees that Caleb is just getting up.
Will you stay here?
Stay here.
She then goes to Nathan's room and changes her destroyed arm for one of the other models. But she also puts on the missing skin and hair. Now she looks just like a human woman. As she does this, Caleb watches her. Ava puts on clothes and gets out of the room, leaving the door closed. Caleb goes to the door and sees that Nathan is dead on the floor. Ava goes down the elevator and leaves Caleb locked up. Then she goes through the living room, watching it excitedly, and leaves the house. She walks through the forest with joy. Meanwhile, Caleb tries to use Nathan's computers, but as soon as he does, everything shuts down. We see him try to break the door with a chair, but it is useless. The helicopter returns to take Ava. For the last time we see Caleb surrendered. Ava leaves the place. We are in a street. Ava is at an intersection along with a bunch of people just as she wished. She turns around, and we lose her among the humans. That's all for today. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and share this content to support it. And as always, thank you very much for watching.